I heard the plan to betray me at the wedding, but the microphone revealed who was behind it all. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Before we dive into this insane story, go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me what state you're watching from. I love knowing where you all are tuning in from. Alright, let's get into it. Robert stepped into the back corridor of the Imperial Ballroom, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders as the smell of cleaning products and stale champagne filled his lungs. He just needed a minute away from everything, a breath. His daughter Bella was getting married in 2 days, and he desperately hoped her fiancé Kyle would be the man she deserved. But 35 years working backstage in theater had taught Robert how to spot a bad actor before the curtain even rose. As he made his way back toward the reception hall, he froze. Voices drifted from a dark corner up ahead. One male, one female, both terrifyingly familiar. "Mom, are you sure about this?" The whisper was unmistakable. It was Kyle. Robert crept closer, his heart pounding. The woman beside him spoke with icy confidence. It was Marlene, Kyle's mother. "Please," she said, arrogance dripping from every word. "That girl thinks you're her Prince Charming. She practically paid for the entire venue just to impress you." Robert's hand gripped the doorframe so tight his fingers ached. He heard papers rustling. Then Marlene continued, "The fake photos look convincing enough. When we show them during the vows, everyone will believe she cheated on you." Kyle laughed. A cold, calculated laugh. "And I walk away with everything. Even the gifts will help clear my debts." Robert pulled his phone from his pocket with trembling hands. His thumb slipped once, twice, before he finally managed to open the voice recorder. The red light blinked steadily as he captured every cruel word. "Saturday at 3:30, Marlene went on. "Right between the vows and the rings. Maximum humiliation." Kyle hummed thoughtfully. "Guess I don't even have to marry her after all." Their footsteps faded down the corridor, leaving Robert alone, clutching his phone so hard his knuckles turned white. His legs refused to move. His breath caught somewhere between rage and disbelief. When Robert returned to the rehearsal, everyone had gathered near the makeshift altar. Bella stood beside Kyle, her face glowing with love and excitement. "Let's run through the vows again," the wedding planner announced cheerfully. Kyle turned to Bella with a smile Robert now recognized as pure performance. "I promise to make you the happiest woman alive." Bella's eyes glistened with tender tears. Robert watched, his heart cracking open. He forced a smile and made his way to the refreshment table, his hand shaking as he poured himself some coffee. Marlene approached him moments later, smiling sweetly like a cat eyeing an injured bird. "You look pale, Robert. Wedding jitters?" He forced a laugh, masking the storm raging inside him. "Something like that." She patted his arm and glided back toward her son, whispering something that made Kyle nod twice. Robert stepped out onto the balcony, letting the cold February air hit his face. With trembling hands, he replayed the first 10 seconds of the recording just to confirm he hadn't imagined everything. Marlene's voice came through crystal clear, sharp as glass. "That girl thinks you're her Prince Charming." Robert clenched his jaw. Inside, Bella laughed at something Kyle whispered. The wedding was 3 days away, and now he knew exactly what they planned to do to her life. When he rejoined the rehearsal, Robert positioned himself beside the wedding planner as she reviewed the schedule. "Saturday, 3 o'clock sharp. Everything needs to flow perfectly." Robert nodded along, but his mind was racing. Marlene kept checking her watch across the room, shooting quick glances at her son like she was confirming secret instructions. Bella squeezed Kyle's hand lovingly, completely unaware of the trap closing around her. Robert swallowed hard. Saturday wasn't going to go the way Marlene expected. Not if he had anything to say about it. That night, Robert sat in his workshop, surrounded by the mechanical toys he restored as a hobby. His tools lay scattered across the table, untouched, while the recording played through his speakers once more. He'd listened to it so many times he could recite every word. "That girl thinks you're her Prince Charming. The gifts will cover your debts." Right between the vows and the rings. His chest tightened with every repetition. The little ballerina music box on his workbench wound down, her melody slowing until it clicked into silence. Robert rested his forehead in his palms. He knew he had to tell Bella, but he dreaded what it would do to her heart. By morning, Robert could barely feel his own hands from all the shaking. He drove to Bella's apartment with a bag of her favorite bagels, a flimsy excuse to see her early. She opened the door in pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Dad, what's wrong? You look terrible." He stepped inside, ignoring her attempt to organize the wedding papers scattered across the table. "Bella, sit down." When she did, he pressed play. Her smile vanished instantly. She sat frozen as Marlene's voice filled the room. When it ended, Bella didn't speak. She simply let her coffee mug slip from her fingers onto the carpet, liquid spreading like a dark bruise. "That's not Kyle," she whispered, shaking her head. "He would never say that." Robert kept his voice gentle. "Sweetheart, listen again. Pay attention to his tone." She did. Halfway through, she stood, walked to the window, and pressed her hand against the cold glass. The gifts, the apartment lease, the comments his mother made. Her voice cracked. "Dad, was any of this real? Did he ever love me?" Robert moved to sit beside her, his knees aching as he lowered himself to the floor. "You trusted him, Bella. That's not foolish. But some people don't deserve trust, and Kyle is one of them." Bella wiped her tears angrily, her expression shifting. She straightened up, grabbed her laptop, and opened the wedding schedule. "They want a show at 3:30? Her voice came out cold and steady. "Then let's give them a better one." Robert stared at her. "What are you saying?" She turned to him with eyes that were no longer soft or hopeful. "You worked in theater your whole life, Dad. You know how to build illusions, so let's build one for them, one they'll never forget." Her phone buzzed with a text from Kyle. "Good morning, babe. Love you." Bella typed back calmly. "Love you too. See you tonight." Then she closed the laptop slowly. "Let them think I'm still the fool in their story." Robert watched Bella move with a sharp focus he hadn't seen in years. She opened her binder, flipped through color-coded notes, then pushed it aside. "If they want to reveal fake evidence in front of a crowd," she said, "we'll give them a crowd that isn't real." Robert frowned. "Actors?" She nodded. 40 of them. Enough to fill the room. He hesitated. "Actors cost money, Bella. A lot of money." She looked at him, her eyes still red from crying. "I'll pay anything for my safety and my dignity." Robert shook his head. "No, I'll pay. This is my fight too." She took a deep breath, accepting his resolve. Robert rose from the couch and grabbed his phone. "I know someone who can help." He dialed quickly. When the call connected, an excited voice answered. "Robert Parker. After all these years." It was Sylvia, his old colleague from the theater. "I need actors," Robert said. "Good ones. Fast." Sylvia chuckled. "That sentence tells me you're involved in something either beautiful or illegal." "Maybe both," he admitted. Then he explained the plan. When he finished, Sylvia whistled softly. "Robert, this is insane. I love it. I'll gather the cast." Relief washed over him like cool water. The first piece of the plan was in motion. Monday morning, Robert and Bella met with his attorney, Mr. Francis, a calm man with silver-rimmed glasses who never seemed surprised by anything. After hearing their story, he leaned back and tapped his pen thoughtfully. "You're not trapping them. They made the plan before you ever got involved. You're simply choosing the stage where they expose themselves." Bella asked quietly. "Is it legal?" Francis nodded. "Document everything. Cameras, audio, written notes, and for heaven's sake, don't sign anything on the wedding day." Bella shuddered. "There won't be a real wedding." Robert could hear the strength returning to her voice. They spent the afternoon hunting for a venue that matched the original ballroom. The first two were too small, the third too modern, but the fourth, a historic hotel with golden chandeliers and soft wallpaper, made Bella stop in her tracks. "Dad," she whispered, "it looks exactly like the original place." Robert approached the manager. "Do you have availability for this Saturday?" The manager checked his system. "One ballroom is open." Robert didn't hesitate. "We'll take it." Bella exhaled, some of her tension melting away. For the first time since the recording, she felt solid ground beneath her feet again. That evening, Bella texted Kyle. "My dad found a cheaper photographer. He wants to switch." Kyle responded instantly. "Cheaper? I like the old one." Bella replied. "Dad's paying. He wants to save money." Kyle typed back. "Fine. Pictures are pictures." Bella handed the phone to Robert. "He didn't even care," she whispered. Robert sighed heavily. "He only cares about one thing, what he can take." Bella nodded slowly. "Then we take something back. We take his power." Her fingers flew across the laptop keyboard, rewriting the entire wedding day plan. Robert watched her reclaim control, one keystroke at a time. Tuesday morning, Robert walked into the old theater he once called home. The smell of paint, sawdust, and fading costumes wrapped around him like a forgotten memory. Sylvia met him with a clipboard in hand. "I've gathered 20 actors so far. We'll have the rest by Friday." Robert looked around at the eager faces. Young actors, older actors, some he'd mentored years ago. "We're staging the most important performance of my life." Murmurs of excitement rippled through the room. One actress raised her hand. "What's our motivation?" Robert smirked. "Justice." That night, while Robert installed hidden cameras inside the new ballroom, a security guard approached with narrowed eyes. "Sir, what are you doing?" Robert nearly fell off the ladder. "I'm setting up special video elements for the wedding." The guard squinted. "Special how?" Robert handed him the venue contract. "The bride and groom requested a surprise montage. Candid reactions. You know how weddings are." The guard nodded slowly. "People get weird at weddings. Just don't break anything." Robert exhaled deeply when the guard walked away. The cameras were crucial. Every angle had to be perfect. Friday morning, Bella pretended to be sick on a video call with Kyle. She added extra eye drops, mussed up her hair, and kept her voice weak. "I feel awful." Kyle frowned. "Should we postpone?" Bella shook her head quickly. No, I'll be fine by tomorrow." Kyle hesitated. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "Don't come over. It's bad luck for the groom to see the bride early." Kyle sighed. "Fine. Love you." She ended the call and immediately sat up straight. "He bought it." Robert nodded. "Good. Let him think everything's normal." Bella spent the afternoon rehearsing her reactions for the fake ceremony. Sylvia coached her. "Remember, when they accuse you, you break down. Just enough to look believable." Bella nodded. "Show me," Robert said. Bella stepped forward. Tears filled her eyes instantly, her voice trembling. "But those pictures aren't real." Robert blinked. That was convincing. Bella wiped her face. "I've been crying all week. It's not hard to recall the feeling." Robert felt his heart squeeze. Her pain had become part of her skill, part of the performance that would save her. By Friday evening, every detail was in place. Actors had memorized their fake identities. Cameras were hidden. The venue was decorated exactly like the original ballroom where Kyle and Marlene planned to destroy Bella. Robert walked through the room slowly, checking each flower arrangement, each light angle, each microphone. Bella stood beside him, calmer than she'd been in days. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "they expose themselves." Robert placed a hand on her shoulder. "And tomorrow," he replied, "we take back your future." She nodded with steady determination. Let them walk straight into the trap they built. Saturday afternoon. The new ballroom buzzed with quiet energy as the hired actors arrived in their borrowed dresses and suits. Robert checked names off a list Sylvia had printed. "Your Uncle Ray, your cousin Megan, your Bella's college friend." Each actor repeated their fake role like lines before a show. 39 people stood ready, but one name remained unchecked. "We're missing Aunt Rose," Robert muttered, anxiety curling in his stomach. Sylvia sighed. "Food poisoning. She can't make it." Robert rubbed his forehead. "What if Marlene notices one less guest?" Sylvia shook her head. "She's expecting a wedding, not doing head counts. Breathe." At 2 o'clock, Kyle and Marlene arrived at the ballroom. Marlene stepped in first, her heels clicking sharply on the floor as her eyes swept the room. "Something feels off," she murmured. "What do you mean?" Kyle asked, already adjusting his tie. "I don't know yet. I just know when something's wrong." Kyle rolled his eyes. "You're overthinking it. Looks like a normal wedding to me." Marlene narrowed her gaze at the guests, all smiling and chatting like a perfectly trained audience. "Maybe," she said quietly, "but I'm watching." Suddenly, Marlene stopped. "Where's the photographer?" "The cheaper one her father supposedly hired." Kyle frowned and looked around. Before panic could spread, a man with a camera appeared from a side door, adjusting his lens. "Sorry about that. Just setting up my equipment." Robert watched from the back row in his disguise as Uncle Ray, fake beard and all. Marlene studied the photographer suspiciously, then slowly nodded. "All right, but I'm still not comfortable." Kyle touched her arm. "Mom, we're too far in to back out now. The ceremony starts in 10 minutes. Hey everyone, you enjoying this? If you haven't hit that like button yet, now's the time. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any stories. All right, let's keep going." When the music finally began, everyone turned toward the side door. The actress playing Bella, her name was Grace, took a steady breath and stepped into the aisle wearing a wedding dress that mirrored the real one. She had studied Bella's walk, her smile, even the way she held flowers. Kyle's eyes softened for a brief second as she approached. "You seem different today," he whispered once she reached the altar. Grace smiled gently. "That's because I'm happy." She mimicked Bella's tone perfectly. He blinked, confused, but distracted by the ceremony starting around them. The officiant began reading the opening words. The fake vows proceeded exactly like the rehearsal. Guests, really actors, nodded, dabbed their eyes, whispered to each other in carefully rehearsed lines. Robert watched from the back, a tablet hidden inside his program, showing all 6 camera angles at once. At the front, Marlene clutched her purse tightly, her fingers brushing the envelope inside like a weapon she was waiting to use. She checked her watch. 3:28. 2 more minutes. Her breathing quickened. Kyle focused on Grace, who repeated the lines Bella had written, though they now burned with new meaning. At the same time, across town, the real Bella stood in another room, watching everything on a screen. At exactly 3:30, Marlene stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Stop!" she shouted, cutting off the officiant. Gasps of shock rippled through the room. "I'm sorry, but I cannot stay silent while my son ruins his life." Kyle widened his eyes dramatically. "Mom, what are you doing?" She pulled out the envelope, her voice dripping with cold triumph. "I have proof that this woman has been cheating on you." She held up the fake photos, pixelated and poorly edited, but loud enough for everyone to see. "This liar doesn't deserve my son." The actors responded with shocked whispers. Grace played her part flawlessly. She stumbled backward, tears welling up on cue. "Those pictures aren't real," she cried, her voice breaking. "Kyle, please. You know me." Kyle jerked his arm away, playing the outraged fiancé. "Don't touch me. How could you?" Marlene grabbed his shoulder. "Come on, sweetheart. We're leaving. But first, we take what's ours." She pointed at the gift table. "These presents are compensation for what she's done. Everyone here is a witness." An actor pushing a cart moved toward the table, helping Kyle stack the boxes, each one heavier than it looked. Every second of this was being recorded. Across town, the real Bella stood in a smaller ballroom with the true guests, family and friends who knew the full truth. They watched the fake ceremony live on a large screen. When Marlene started taking the gifts, Bella clenched her fists. "Dad, now." Robert, in his disguise, glanced down at his hidden tablet, his thumb hovering over a button. He waited for Marlene to lift one more gift box, her voice rising as she repeated, "These are ours. After what she did, we deserve this." Then he pressed the command. Under the cake table, a hidden screen flickered to life. Marlene paused. A strange glow from beneath the cake table reflected on the floor. "What is that?" she snapped. Kyle looked down. "What?" Marlene bent down, lifting the tablecloth with an impatient hand. On the screen beneath, a live video showed Bella in her wedding dress, standing in another room, smiling calmly at the camera. Behind her, Aunt Martha, Uncle Ray, and other real relatives waved. Bella leaned closer to the camera and spoke clearly. "Hi, Kyle." "Hi, Marlene." Kyle's face drained of color. He straightened slowly, scanning the room. He looked again at the guests, their faces unfamiliar, their eyes too focused. "Mom," he whispered, "these people, they're not our real guests." Before Marlene could react, Grace reached up and pulled off her wig, revealing her natural hair underneath. "Name's Grace. Actress, not fiancé." Around the room, actors removed glasses, wigs, fake beards. Aunt Martha pulled off her gray wig and laughed. "Community theater. 30 years of experience." Robert stood, removing his own beard and hat. "Marlene," he said, his real voice ringing through the room, "you plan to humiliate my daughter and steal from her. We just gave you a different stage." He held up his phone. "I recorded your entire conversation at the rehearsal, and everything you did here is on 6 cameras. The side doors opened and Detective Harris walked in with 2 officers. "Marlene Brown," he called firmly, "we need to talk about what you just tried to do." Marlene froze as Detective Harris stepped forward, his badge glinting under the chandeliers. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "we have video of you attempting fraud, theft, and defamation." Kyle stepped back, panic rising in his eyes. "Mom, we're caught," he whispered shakily. Marlene hissed, "Keep quiet." But the detective continued, "We also have an audio recording from the rehearsal. Your complete plan." Robert held up his phone, the screen still glowing. "I recorded everything you said about my daughter." Marlene tried to speak, but her voice cracked under the weight of truth. Kyle suddenly let his shoulders drop in defeat. "I can't do this anymore," he said softly. "I'll cooperate." Marlene whipped toward him. "Kyle, don't you dare." But he pulled his arm away. "You dragged me into this. You said we'd get out of debt. You never cared about Bella. Or me." His voice trembled. Detective Harris nodded to an officer who gently guided Kyle aside to take his statement. Marlene's face twisted with rage and fear. "You people don't understand. I was doing what I had to do, but the room had already turned against her." The officers escorted Marlene out of the ballroom, her heels echoing sharply, her pride draining with every step. Robert watched her go, then glanced up at the large screen showing Bella and the real guests cheering. Bella smiled softly from across the city. "Dad, you did it." Actors applauded, some hugging Robert warmly. The room buzzed with relief and adrenaline. Robert exhaled slowly, letting the tension flow out like a long-held breath. Bella's voice continued, "They planned to break me, but we broke their plan." Later at the police station, Kyle confessed everything. "My mother pushed me into it," he said quietly, not meeting anyone's eyes. "But I agreed. I thought I could get out of debt. I was wrong." Detective Harris recorded every word. Meanwhile, in another room, Marlene sat silent, arms crossed tightly. When asked if she wanted to make a statement, she whispered, "No, my lawyer will handle it." But the evidence was overwhelming. 6 cameras, clear audio, and multiple witnesses. The truth had finally cornered her, leaving no shadows to hide in. In the weeks that followed, news of the sting spread across town. Reporters described it as the most theatrical takedown of a wedding scam ever recorded. Robert hated the attention, but accepted it as the price of saving Bella. In court, the judge listened to every detail before delivering the verdict. Marlene received 4 years in state prison with parole eligibility after 2. Kyle received probation, community service, and a strict restraining order never to contact Bella again. When the judge asked if Bella wished to speak, she simply shook her head. The truth already spoke for me. Back home, Robert found himself sitting alone in his workshop, surrounded by the mechanical toys he once loved restoring. For weeks, they had remained silent, unwound, gathering dust. He stared at the little ballerina, still frozen mid-spin. Bella's words echoed in his mind. They planned to break me. He had protected her, yes, but the ordeal had left cracks in both of them. He picked up a screwdriver, turning it slowly in his hand, unsure if he was ready to return to normal life. The workshop felt like a place waiting for healing. One evening, Bella visited him, carrying 2 cups of tea. She looked stronger, still healing, but standing taller than before. "Dad," she said quietly, "I wanted to say thank you." Robert raised an eyebrow. "For what?" She sat beside him. "For fighting for me, even when I was too scared to fight for myself." His shoulders softened. "I'd do it again," he whispered, "though I wish you never had to go through any of it." She placed a gentle hand on his arm. "It hurt, but it didn't break me, and I'm not afraid anymore." That night, Robert finally returned to his tools. He wound the ballerina's key, replaced the broken spring, and carefully tightened each tiny screw. When he finished, he set her down and watched her spin gracefully, music filling the workshop with warm notes. For the first time in months, he felt something inside him lift. Bella stood in the doorway, smiling. "She works again." Robert nodded. "Broken things can be repaired. Even people." Bella stepped forward and hugged him. "We both survived, Dad. That's what matters most." Months later, Bella slowly rebuilt her life. She joined a support group, made new friends, and eventually allowed herself to laugh again. Real laughter, not the fragile kind. Robert watched her grow stronger, her spirit shining brighter than before. "One day," she told him, "I'm learning to trust again. Not everyone is like Kyle." Robert felt pride swell in his chest. "You deserve someone who sees your worth." She nodded. "And thanks to you, I know how to see it too." Their bond, once strained by pain, became unbreakable. On a quiet afternoon, Robert placed a small brass plaque beneath the ballerina. "For Bella, for second chances. Love, Dad." He stepped back, listening to the gentle tune filling the room. It reminded him that even the deepest betrayals could lead to new beginnings. Bella walked in, smiling softly when she saw the plaque. "Dad," she whispered, touched. "It's beautiful." Robert looked at her with calm pride. "So are you." And as the music played on, father and daughter stood together, survivors, stronger at the broken places, ready for whatever life would bring.